All right, so we're going to be creating an orthographic drawing today. So here is the isometric drawing we're starting from. And when we are done, we are going to end up with this. Move that into frame. So this is what your finished drawing is going to look like. We have our front view, our top view, and our side view. So let's take a look at what to do for this assignment. First of all, make sure you have your square graph paper. It could be dot grid or regular, but your grid should be arranged in squares, not triangles. Make sure you have something to draw with, and I strongly encourage having a straight edge. You should draw in pencil. I'm going to be drawing in pen just to make this a little more visible, but I also have a lot more practice drawing these than you do. So our first step after we've identified the faces is going to be to draw the front view. So as I said before, we have face 1 and 4 as the top view, face 2 and 5 as the front view, and face 3 and 6 as the side view. To answer a question that popped up in the chat, the square paper is the same either way. It is traditional when drawing to hold it sideways, so with the long direction facing to the left. But if you don't, it's not going to affect the drawing itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a place to start my front view. So I'm going to start it right around here. Later on, we'll do some stuff, hopefully, with borders and title boxes, but we're not doing that just yet. And so I can see that my front view, I have this rectangle. Now, this is 6 units wide and 2 units tall. Now, my units here are going to be boxes. I have also face 2, which is 3 units wide. Now, you don't see a measurement here or here, but you will see one right here. And this is 3, which means this is 3, which means this is 3. And in fact, because this is 3 and this is 6, this is 6, this is 6, so this is 3, because 6 minus 3 is 3. So let's start off with drawing face 5, because that's going to be the base of everything. So it's going to be 6 units wide and 2 units tall. I'm going to take my straight edge, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and just draw a nice, neat line connecting. I'm going to also take my straight edge, draw 2 units, so 2 boxes for that vertical line, and I'm going to do the same thing on the right side. I'm going to finish off the rectangle, and this is face 5. I just realized I did not have that in view. I apologize. So 6 units, 2 units. And that is face 5, which is the base box in the front view. Now the next part of this is going to be face 2, which, as we already said, is 3 units wide and 2 units tall. Now we can see that it is on the left side of the shape. And the reason we could tell, so I know if you follow this line up, you can see a gap between the extension of this line and this. But that's because, don't forget that the depth of the isometric drawing is this line, so it's going straight back. So this line goes up, backwards, and up. So left to right, these 2 lines are lined up. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw face 2, which is going to come up 2 units again. It's only going to come over 3 units. My lines may be a little blotchy because this ruler is pretty flexible, which is a little tedious. It tends to flex up and out of my way. Typically, I use either thick plastic rulers or metal rulers. You don't need to go out and get one of those. Just be aware that if you're using a thin plastic ruler like this, it will flex out of the way. So you have to really make sure you hold it down where you're drawing. But this is our front view. Move my hand out of the way. So we have two rectangles. One is 6 by 2. The other is 3 by 2. And that represents faces 5 and 2 in this isometric drawing. I'll pause for a moment so that you can get caught up if you need to. So at this point, you are hopefully working on, hopefully done with your front view. So now let's make some guidelines. So our next step is going to be to make guidelines. And you should do that with light pencil lines. I'm going to use, instead of pencil, an orange pen, just so it's more visible. But that's typically the opposite of what you want. So you actually want to be able to either erase your guidelines or to be able to just not even notice them if you draw them light enough. So what I'm going to do is every vertical line in my front view, remember vertical means straight up and down, every vertical line is going to get a vertical guideline. So these guidelines are here because they're going to help us construct our other views. When I say construct, what that means, it's going to help you figure out where all the lines go. So we're going to do the same thing for the horizontal lines. So the vertical lines are going to show me features in my top view. The horizontal lines are going to show me things in the side view. All right, so there is my guidelines. And so those guidelines are going to be a huge help to me. For those of you watching the recording, if you need to pause for a moment, you can. I'm going to move on to the top view. Now, the top view, I have two rectangles. So the base has face 4, which is 6 units wide and 4 units deep. Now, inside here, nested into this, with it all the way at the left side, all the way at the back, I have this smaller box with the rectangle that's 3 units wide and 2 units deep, all the way at the back left. And so I'm going to draw the two rectangles. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to space this out a bit. So you want to keep your spacing between views consistent. I'm going to use 2 boxes in between views. Now you're going to have to do less measuring now because you have guidelines. So I'm going to start all the way at the left, go all the way to the right. I'm going to go back 4 and do the same. And then to start doing my, what's it called, lines for depth, I'm going to draw right over my guideline and draw right over my guideline. And that's what I'm talking about with the flexible ruler. They're a little annoying. Now to show this rectangle, I'm going to come forward 2 boxes and then draw over to the guideline that I already created. So I come forward by 2. I draw to the guideline. And I draw over the guideline to show the depth. And that is the end of the top view. So that's face 1 and face 4. And if you were doing this in pencil, you would go through and erase the guidelines. All right, and now our last view is going to be our side view. Now this is where things get a little tricky. We already have guidelines showing features in the side view for height. So this shows the bottom, this shows the top, this shows that face between the base and the top section. But we don't have anything to show depth, and we know that the side view shows both height and depth. And the way we're going to get those is that we are going to create more guidelines. And that might seem tricky because we have the issue of we can't really draw directly from here to here. What we can do, there's actually a pretty easy way of doing this. So you take where these two lines meet. So the right side and the top side. Put one edge of your straight edge right at that intersection. And then you put the other edge, other end angled so that you're going at a 45-degree angle. Now, for those of you who aren't super into geometry, which, okay, if you're not, the way to do that on a square grid like this is to just make sure that your straight edge is running through the opposite corners of these squares. So what you'll see is that it's going to divide each square it goes through into two equal triangles. And now all you've got to do is you come through, so a horizontal line here. So this line in the top view shows the front of the shape. So it comes out to that diagonal line, and then it's going to come down. Here, showing the front of that smaller bit that sticks up, comes out like this, and then it comes down once it meets that diagonal line. As I said, you should do this using a really light pencil line. That way it's easy to erase. I'm just doing orange marker so it's easy to see. So that gives us our guidelines. And if we take a look at the side view, we can see that the base has a 4-box by 2-box rectangle. And then pushed all the way to the back, we can see this side view, face 3. It's 2 units wide. Well, it's this, the horizontal measurement, which shows depth, is 2 units. And the vertical measurement that shows height is also 2 units. So what I'm going to do is if I take a look here, I can see that this portion of the guidelines gives me my 4 units from front to back. Then split up into 2. Then this is 2 by 2. So what I would do is I could just come in and my guidelines are going to give me all these measurements that I need. So I'm going to connect. So this is showing the depth of the base. I'm showing height on the back of the shape, height on the front of the piece that sticks up, and height on the front of the base. And then I come in here. And so that is face 3 and face 6. So this is a finished version of the drawing. However, I know it's a little hard to see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just color it in a little bit darker just so you can see the edges a little more easily. This is why we typically want to avoid doing dark guidelines because it makes it really hard to see what you're doing. Fortunately, I have a bit of a thicker pen with me. So the type of pen I'm using is called a fine liner. So I was using before a Sharpie pen. And by the way, if you're fine with what you're seeing, you can move on from this video. I'm just going to show you now how I would make this darker, which has the additive edge of showing how things line up. So the right side of the top view is also going to be the right side of the front view. So if you do find that you get into technical drawings in whatever way, whether it's these, perspective drawings, whatever, a fine liner like this is a really useful tool. You could pick them up at office stores, art stores, craft stores, etc. A good one that's not too expensive is actually, believe it or not, the Sharpie pens. If you want something a little nicer, Micron makes really nice ones. So here's the top of the base. Here's the bottom of the base. Here's the right side of the portion that sticks up. Front of the base, which actually lines up with this, as you can tell from the guidelines. And there we go. So now our lines are a little thicker, a little easier to see. And that's how you would do isometric drawing 1. If you have questions or need help, don't hesitate to reach out. I'll be happy to provide you whatever help you need. And have a good day.